I first started to become unwell with mental illness after I had returned from an overseas assignment, volunteering on HIV/AIDS projects.
I think I was pretty naive about mental illness before Ben became unwell. We knew people who were depressed and felt a bit helpless, didn't really know how to help them, and we hadn't had much close experience with people who were suffering psychosis, paranoia, more severe forms of mental illness.
Initially, I had symptoms of interrupted sleep, disorganized thoughts and speech, fairly low or flat mood, having overwhelming feelings of hopelessness and despair.
That got worse and worse, and we didn't know at the time, but that's what they call a prodrome before somebody becomes more severely mentally ill.
But my anxiety intensified to where I was having panic attacks and becoming disoriented in places that were familiar to me.
And then it got worse until we had a sort of crisis day where we felt we had to take him to hospital.
Going to hospital was partly scary and partly a relief as well. I was convinced that people were out to harm or possibly even kill me and my family members and spying on us.
It was almost worse than somebody had died because we didn't have the Ben that we knew anymore, and we had somebody else who we didn't seem to know, and we didn't know at that point if we would ever get the Ben that we knew back again, or if we would be left, as carers for the rest of our lives. Quite early on, before we got Ben to a psychiatrist, there were a couple of people in the church who were really insistent that it was a spiritual thing and that he needed specific ministry to deal with any bad spiritual experiences he'd had in the past. And we initially thought maybe that might be needed, but then after prayer we decided that we didn't feel it was right, and these people were a little bit insistent, which just made us a bit uncomfortable.
So it's been a gradual road to recovery.
For me, if anything, I felt my faith deepened, because when things are sailing along smoothly, there's not that yearning for God, seeking for God, and I'm sure that His presence is always with you, but in times of deep trouble like that, His presence is much more real.
There's passages in the Bible that talk about trusting in God, and He's a refuge and a stronghold for times of trouble, and a deliverer, and He hears our prayers and answers them, and I clung on to that.
We experience God's love through others, particularly in the church, but even outside the church, people who showed practical care and help, listening ear, and this sort of thing. It was as if God was reaching out, and He was reaching out through them to us. So it was very strengthening, I think, to our faith.
My small group, Bible study group, put together a gift hamper, which was very nice for me to get. Other people took me out for coffee or to the cinemas. Some people made a point of visiting me when I was in hospital, but also when I was at home.
We had a lot of support from some of the elderly people in the congregation. As soon as they found out that Ben was unwell, they were so concerned to pray for him and to hear news from him every Sunday.
I had one man who committed to having a half an hour telephone conversation with me every day, and that was just amazing.
And there's another lady, as Ben was getting better, he started a gardening job, and he in some ways he really wasn't up to it, but they invited him anyway, and they were prepared to turn a blind eye to the few flowers that went missing and things that he did wrong.
And it was really important for me to be able to be my own boss, have flexible hours, working outdoors.
And being invited to a meal, that sort of thing, just getting back into a normal pattern, being accepted and loved, is a very big part of the healing process.
Now I'm 5 days a week, and I'm a program worker with the Consumer Participation Services, and have been very fortunate to have made a remarkable recovery. In September last year, I got married to a lovely lady, and very, very happy. It was a tough and challenging time and hard to go through, but very glad to have come through the other side.
As we were totally ignorant, we knew nothing about it, and when it happened in our family, we were totally unprepared. I think in that the church is a body that reaches out to the community and to its own people, and given the amount of mental illness in our society, it would be very good for the church to be better informed on what it is, what you do about it, and how to minister to people in that situation.
I think people are people, and my advice to young adults whose friends or family members are experiencing mental illness is to be there for them, not to abandon them or reject them or judge them.
And I think we're all on a spectrum. We all experience some anxiety and depression at some time of our life. And, if we separate ourselves totally from that, then we're not going to help anybody in the church. And I think we have a role in encouraging each other, anybody in the church. Jesus reached out to everybody, and I don't think we should be any different.
No one sort of put pressure on me or made me feel bad about it. And they invited me to come back to small group and just accepted me for who I was and where I was at without judging me. Yeah.